Wonderful and blessed evening to each and every one. Of course, you know, we give thanks for your presence with us as we glorify the life giver, the keeper of life, Emperor HAILE SELASSIE I. We are thankful also for each and every one who has definitely found the time to come and sit with us at this moment. And of course, we welcome you to another edition of the Tiger's Nest. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. Just, of course, keeping a joy and happiness and just giving thanks for the blessed day and all that has been done and all that will be done even from this time going forward. Now, of course, you know, this is the Tiger's Nest, as I said. This is the program that comes to you every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, and every Thursday, even at this time, at the hour of 7 p.m. sharp, going on into the evening. And this is where we gather together to take this thing to another level as we do all the time. You're in tune to Radio Anu, talking about the international flavor. This is the universal spice. And this is, of course, Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. The Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, definitely priestisaacsinstitute.com. on your web, the website, the web page specifically, priestisaacinstitute.com. And of course, all emails could be done to Priest Isaac's Institute, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. So wonderful family, give thanks, you know, this evening being the 5th of May, 20 and 22. We are here commemorating Ethiopia's Liberation Day, because today is actually Ethiopia's Liberation Day, a very important time frame, as I said, the 5th of May. And this is the day when Ethiopia really regained its freedom as such from the hands of the aggressor, which is Italy and Mussolini at that time. We're speaking between 1935 to 1941, because it was 1935 really that Italy kind of began their attack from Wal. This is in the latter part of the year 1935, and of course it escalated going into 1936, when of course, you know, we had the whole aspect of the Ethiopian-Italian war really coming to somewhat of its climax. And then we all know that the emperor made that presentation, that's really what it was, to the League of Nations, and the fullness that followed thereafter, and of course returning to Ethiopia to regain the throne on the 5th of May 1941. And to say regain the throne, because the throne is more than just a chair, you know. And the emperor was no ex-emperor. Here's some of them in their old time British newscast referring to the emperor as the ex-emperor. No, this is the emperor. So we're very thankful for Emperor HAILE SELASSIE I, and of course such strength as far as, you know, safekeeping Africa. So we're going to be getting into that. You know, we're going to be reasoning about the whole aspect of the 5th of May, and from 1936 to 1941, we understand that that is the period where you could say the emperor left Ethiopia. He didn't return on the 5th of May 1941. He returned to the palace and took up the seat of the throne again in 1941. And we have to keep in mind, the emperor was ever the emperor. He ain't no ex-emperor. You understand? So never lost no crown. Now the monarchy was never disposed. Ethiopia never lost its independence. It was just going through a struggle. And that's really what it was, if you understand the history properly. Yeah, the UN and them people at the UN, the League of Nations, and these fellas could say all what they want about annexing Ethiopia to Italy. That's just their make-believe idea. That's just their make-believe idea. Do you know that, what's his name? John Hawkins went and spoke to the Pope of Rome and asked him for permission to go into Africa and kidnap some slaves so he could make a little money. The Pope of Rome don't own nobody in Africa. The Pope of Rome didn't own no land in Africa. but he went to the Pope of Rome for permission, you know, some sort of religious stuff, as if he getting the permission from God, so he can go and start to kidnap Africans in Africa, so he can again make a change and do whatever he think he have to do. So you have to understand that you gotta understand that CNN and BBC, that's their history, that's their side of the story. So Italy never conquered Ethiopia, not even for a day. Italy never conquered Ethiopia, not even for a moment. No matter how they drew up the map, no matter what they said on the British pattern newsreel, they could say all what they want, but we know for sure that the Ethiopians had the Italians. They were holding them really specifically. They held them at bay. So they could not really conquer the highlands and the valleys and the different parts of the country where the soldiers were just resisting them continually. So we're very thankful, you know, for the Ethiopian warriors and the strength thereof. And as I said, we will be definitely commemorating the 5th of May, even at this moment. We're talking about Ethiopia's Liberation Day, not necessarily Africa's Liberation Day, but still African Liberation Day. But remember, African Liberation Day is really the 25th of May. And again, we're talking this year, 2022, but African Liberation Day came into its fullness in 1963. The Organization of African Unity being formed in Addis Ababa. And of course, you know, all the heads of states, 32 free heads of state in Africa, Ethiopia, and 31 others, you know, fulfilling the charter of the Organization of African Unity. So yes, family, again, give thanks for your presence with us. We have a wonderful program in store for you this evening. All you got to do is just get comfortable and sit back and relax, as they say. And of course, we will be taking this thing to another level in a moment here. But let me just remind you, of course, remember that the space is very limited right now. I can tell you that for sure. The space is very limited for the workshop upcoming this Monday. I'm talking about the Natural Child Birthing Workshop. Of course, that will be this Monday, the 9th of May. It will be from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's actually a 2-hour training workshop. This is something you definitely you definitely don't want to miss, as we will be showing you the whole aspect of, well, so many things will be expressed here. Definitely, this is a 2-hour training, question and answer. We will be covering, and I'm saying we really, you know, but I'm speaking specifically of the Honorable Empress Naya, who is the certified doula here, the certified practitioner, and she will be facilitating and hosting this workshop. So she will be covering the preconception stage. She will be covering the prenatal support for natural pregnancy. She will be covering natural birthing and spiritual technique. I'm telling you, also natural postpartum healing, at home birthing space. And remember, this is live question and answer. And there's so much more. There's also a full month free virtual doula support that will be added to those who actually register for this conference. So there's a lot of giveaways, a lot of love being shared here, a lot of love being expressed. As it says, we're celebrating life. So I'm just telling you, family, you know, the reason why the space is limited, because we do not want it to be crowded. That is something that we you know, it's like a conscious decision, you know. So you can see it's not about let's see how much people we can get, because the nature of the workshop, you know, we wanted to those who take the initiative to make sure that they're first in line, that they have a comfortable setting. So it's not that crowded. You know, questions could be answered, and reasoning can be better expressed, definitely. You know, and of course, whatever may happen in the future, that's for the future. But this is now. And I would encourage you to definitely contact us well, I would contact us now, and make sure you certify or reserve your space for this wonderful expression that will be happening on Monday the 9th. So remember for sure, my family, that you could email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. That's priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. And you could definitely even make your payments using CashApp, PayPal, Stripe. You have several different things, but for sure, you can definitely make your payment. The admission for the lecture or the workshop is only $50. In fact, that's to register your spot. But the whole family can come. Everyone can come. Granny and grandfather can come. Well, I don't know if they bring in any more children in, but they definitely can insist. The young ones can come. As the Honorable Empress said, it would be important for you to bring the young ones in, because what you're doing also, you're actually creating like a supporting team. Your family, it's all about supporting each other. It's a real spiritual thing. The understanding of this whole doula concept is a very spiritual thing, meaning that you'll be literally sharing that love amongst the family, amongst each other, instead of depending on the doctors and the different people who known to have blood on their hands, etc., etc. So family, I would encourage you to find the time to be a part of this workshop here. Find the time to be a part of this expression here. Find the time to bring in your family, bring your pen and your pad, prepare to ask questions, prepare to learn something, and keep in mind that you will receive a certificate of attendance and completion after the workshop, and that itself would say a lot as it relates to the training that you would have received. So beautiful. It's really a beautiful thing. I myself looking forward to this in all righteousness of salvation. So as I said, we're speaking of the 5th of May, family, the 5th of May, and it is Ethiopia's Liberation Day, and that is the energy that we will be moving with. We're going straight into the reasoning as it relates to such, so we can spend as much time here highlighting this vibration, really. All right.
On the 5th anniversary of the entry of Italian troops into Abyssinian capital, His Majesty Haile Selassie returns in triumph to Addis Ababa. A great ovation is given him by his subjects, who witness the moving spectacle of their emperor attending a Thanksgiving service at the Cathedral of St. George, his first act on returning to the throne of Ethiopia. Accompanied by a number of military chiefs and religious leaders, including Ras Seum, Ras Kassa, and the chief abbot, Haile Selassie returns thanks to Almighty God for the restoration of his country. Today, Abyssinia rejoices. And now the triumphal procession, headed by Ethiopian troops. The royal car makes its way to the palace as a salute of 21 guns mingles with the greetings of the crowds thronging the tree-lined route to the emperor's home. Arriving in the palace grounds, the emperor is greeted by the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief, East African Forces, Lieutenant General Cunningham. After 5 years of exile, the dignified ruler of Ethiopia mounts the steps leading to the palace balcony. With his son, the Duke of Hara, beside him, the emperor calls upon his people not to reward evil with evil. Do not shame Ethiopia, he said, with acts worthy of our enemies. Haile Selassie has triumphed over Italy's profane fascist regime. Britain has set the conquering Lion of Judah once more at the head of a united Abyssinian nation, freed from the yoke of the tyrant.
Very, very good. Wonderful. Of course, I would just kind of touch the meditation and observe the language, family. Hear what the reporters say, that Britain has placed Haile Selassie again at the head of Abyssinia, something of the sort that he was kind of saying there. And herein lies again the lies, and of course the propaganda. Propaganda. Yeah. Now, for those who may not really comprehend the story properly, with good understanding, we're talking about, and you've got to keep all of this in mind as you go through this history here, family. We're talking about slavery. That's what we're talking about. At the beginning, I mentioned what Henry Morgan would have done. And the whole aspect of kidnapping Africans from the Western coast. And then eventually Europe in general starting to play a part in the kidnapping of the Africans and these different things. And then came the state of what is known as colonialism. And we have colonialism in Africa, we have colonialism in the Caribbean, we have colonialism all over the world, really. Even the United States, Canada, you know, these were once colonies of Britain and French Canada and all of these different things. Good. Now, so of all these countries, Ethiopia was not colonized by the Europeans when they went on their colonizing crusade. And they tried and they tried and they tried, but they just could not get the job done. And then, of course, what we're speaking of at this moment now is the time of 1930 at the coronation of the King of Kings. And then by 1935, we have the invasion of Abyssinia or Ethiopia by Mussolini and Italy. So we have to also remember the state of affairs here and the way that the world was situated at the time. Because of the European conquest in Africa, a lot of the raw material which was stolen were not just taken away because we wanted to steal from the Africans. No, the Europeans took it away. This is the raw material now, and created their tanks, created their planes, created their warships, created their bombs from the wealth that they stole from Africa. So how do you believe? Think about this in a family. When they ran up on Menelik II and Ras Mokennen in 1896, they didn't have this kind of artillery. Nobody had this kind of artillery, really. They were kind of getting there, but they were not that fortified with these bombs and guns, and again, heavy artillery. But by the time they came around on the newly crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I, you could see squadrons of airplanes, jets, bombers, really, flying across the sky. Italy had several carriers. This is aircraft carriers, ships underwater, several in it, not one, several, where their planes would take off from and then go to their destination. What's the case in Ethiopia? How many aircraft carriers did Ethiopia have? I don't think that's the question. The question should be, how many aircrafts did Ethiopia have? I know for sure from my historical research, it wasn't more than 5. In fact, I think it was 2 at the time. So you also would see the emperor even investing, even before the attack, in the army. That is why they had the aircrafts. That is why they had a couple of tanks, because the investment just began. The newly crowned emperor I'm talking about, making sure he's setting up the defense of Ethiopia, even the artillery. He invested in guns and rapid fire machinery and Gatling guns and these different things. And the investment was well made. So now when Italy really came in with all its heavy stuff and bombs and other things and flamethrowers. Yeah, man, Italy had flamethrowers. Burning down the place. And hear this, from World War I, they banned the use of the gas they call yips gas or yipes gas, which is mustard gas. I guess that's why some people, when they're afraid and they gotta run away, they say yipes. Yeah. Italy had to utilize something that was illegal in war. So just to show you how organized war really is. Oh yeah. Listen, family, this is deep, eh? Just to show you how organized war really is. That you could have illegal actions in war as if it's a sport, as if it's a game. But it is a sport. It is a game. Maybe not for those who are dying on the battlefield, but for those who are funding the war. We're going to go deep here tonight, because we're taking this understanding to another level. And I really want my family to get this. Now, when we say the other level, I'm sure we know when it comes to the big bankers, the international bankers, and the families that form them, when it comes to the Rothschilds specifically, and the beginning in the 1800s, the Bank of Austria, I think it was, the Bank of England, the Bank of France, the Bank of Italy, all of these banks from the different children of Mir Rothschild became the international bank itself. And then, of course, out of it came out the Federal Reserve, the IMF, and all of these different things, the International MF. A better term for it. Telling you. So a lot of us, we're not aware that when you see some big bully country attack another country, they have some fellas that come in and say, hey, look at how he's blowing up your cities. What are you going to do about it? Well, we can't afford to take him out, We can't afford to do anything about that. He has all the artillery. We don't have as much, and we don't have the revenue. We may just have to give up. No. How much money do you need? And the fella that asking the prey how much money he needs, is the same fella that's funding the predator. That's how the story goes in war. And then now the prey, after taking the loot, says amongst his comrades, all right, well, we need to get some tanks. Yes. We need to get some planes. Oh, yes, 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 yes. We need some of them flamethrowers too. Of course, yes, 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 yes. We need some bombs. Yes, yes. Where are we going to get this stuff? We have the money. Where will we buy it? Well, you see, the fella that loaned us the money, I heard he sells war machinery too. Oh, well, let's check him out. And the same loan shark, the same lender of the money, is the same people that is selling you the tanks, selling you the plane, selling you the guns and the bombs, because it's their business. They have to make sure everybody is all right. They're funding the war. You don't believe this, don't you? No. Everybody on the earth is just so nice. History alone proves how nice people are. And wickedness is not just rash hatred. Wickedness is some precise intellectual planning. These killers fund the war on both sides. Or how many other sides are there? Or how many sides they have in the war? You better be sure it's funded. GoFundMe, sponsorship. I tell you, wow. So when you understand that in war, all what you see happening now, all of Russia and Ukraine, come on, you think you're getting everything through the television? You think after watching a good half an hour or an hour worth of the news, even if the news is just speaking about the war in Russia and Ukraine and another thing, I shouldn't even say that because one side says it's not a war. Yeah, President Putin says it's not a war. He calls it, I can't even remember what it is he calls it, but he says it's not a war. Yeah, I'm not there. I know some of you saying, oh, come on, brother. Come on, brother. What are you trying to say? These innocent people in Ukraine never did him nothing. You don't even know what's going on. You have no idea what's really taking place. Even if you're going to say, brother, I was there. I had to run out of the country. Yeah, you're underground, But that don't mean you know what's really going on. You see the bombs dropping, but that don't mean you really know what's going on. Same thing, with Hitler. And as we speak, because it's the 5th of May we're talking about it. Okay. Same thing with Hitler, man. When Hitler ran in on them, and the whole world thought that he was the wickedest thing around, they failed to tell the world that Hitler was just taking back what was taken from him in World War I. Not him necessarily, but Germany in World War I. What do you think going on in Russia, the former Soviet Union? But anyway, Uncle Joe is going to send them $33 billion to make sure that they are okay until September. Well, you say the Negroes want reparation? We can't pay for that. We ain't got no money. Yeah. So I'm just giving you an idea of how war really works on that level. And that's no depths. I didn't go to no depths. That could be broken down more for you in some minute details. But I mean, I'm just kind of just giving you a broad brushed idea of how the war thing really goes. So there are people that plan these wars. They don't just happen. People don't just get vexed and say, I'm not going to take it. It's planned. So obviously, when you see the Africans stand up, they ain't getting no funding from nobody. Oh. Even when Haile Selassie was in England, several things came before him that people wanted him to do, to belittle himself, for money to help him in the war. One of these things that were asked of him to do was to act in a movie by the name of Flight by Night. The king refused to go and pretend to be what he's not. Act in a movie as what? What am I gonna act as? How much you really can pay me to do that? Come on, man. Yeah. And the emperor refused that. Remember, this is war, you know. This is not just mad Mussolini. Remember, it's not Mussolini attack Ethiopia. It's all of Europe attack Ethiopia, including Britain. Including Britain. This is chess, Rasta. Chess is the art of war. Kings and queens and knights and bishops. And the little thing with the round head. It's the art of war. What do you call it things? The who? Not the, well, rook too. Is the little things? Okay, right. What you say?
The pawn.
Okay, good. So what is the castle?
The castle is the rook.
Oh, the castle is the rook. And the little thing with the little head.
That's
The pawn. Okay, give thanks very much. Right. So is the art of war. Some chess players there with me here too. The art of war is what you see going on the chessboard. It's about strategy. And as I said, most of the time, one person is funding both sides. All right. As I said, the US may be sending $33 billion to fund the war in Ukraine, as it's called. So it was obvious, Rastafari, that during the Italian-Ethiopian war, nobody was funding Ethiopia. Oh, okay. You see, even in war, when you are attacked, you are in a position where you can get funded. Now, mind all them Islamic war to you. The sides, that's why it's still going on up to now. Because the Muslims does get funding too in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in all these other places, funding. When they overthrow Gaddafi, is funding. Whether they approve the $33 billion or not, I'm not sure if they did it already. I don't know. That's just for the TV screen, Rasta. Everything is funded. It is obvious. It is obvious that Haile Selassie in Ethiopia wasn't getting nothing from anybody. Obvious. So yeah, Italy coming with all his heavy machinery. Boom, bam, boom, boom. Yeah, bombing people to smithereens. The emperor prepared himself to go on the battlefield. And the emperor on the battlefield, licking shot on the wicked. And then the battle getting real hot. And the diplomatic approach had to be taken by the emperor himself. Remember the diplomatic war has always been going on, just like the physical war was going on. The emperor didn't go to Geneva to start the diplomatic war. That has ever been there since 1923-24 thereabouts. Haile Selassie, as Rastafari at that time, placed Ethiopia into the League of Nations. We know that, right? Yeah. So we have always had envoys and representatives going back and forth from Abyssinia to these places to defend the Ethiopian cause. And this is why when Mussolini attacked Ethiopia, we had a strong case, just case, that we could bring before these weasels. Pardon me, I shouldn't say that. That was wrong. That was wrong. I mean, that's a disrespect to the weasel. To compare the weasel with these beings here. So that's why when the emperor came before them now, it was a different kettle of fish altogether. It's a different levels of understanding. Gotta stop to use them phrases there. Kettle of fish, like you're cooking fish, and we're not defending no animal eating whatsoever. The animal, the fish has a home, has family, have loved ones. Can't be eating up no fish, Rasta. Yeah. Sound like a different subject there, but just little commercial break. So he come before the League of Nations, Rastafari. Plead the case for Ethiopia, fulfilling scriptures, the man. Zephaniah chapter 3, when he gather all nations together. Joel speak about bring them in the valley of Jehoshaphat. He talk about, where he shall pour out his wrath and his indignation. He pleading for his suppliant, the daughter of his dispersed, and he shall speak unto them in a pure language from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. I mean, everything is perfectly aligned with the events of 1936, the 30th of June. Perfectly aligned. I don't know what we're missing. The Lord gathered all nations together. This is the League of Nations. And all of them there. And he came to pour out his wrath and his indignation. That's exactly what he came to do. Right? If you read the speech, you see it clearly there. No fire burning. And then now, he said that he shall speak to them in a pure language. Wow. Which language is this? From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And he spoke to them in Amharic, pure language beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Then he described Ethiopia as his suppliant. What does suppliant mean? Those who I plead for. And he continued, the book Zephaniah continues to describe Ethiopia as the daughter of his dispersed. What does that mean? My children who have been scattered abroad. Everything is well in order with this scenario here, realistic scenario that has come to life. It may have been a scenario as such within the scripture. It may have been an understanding of such within the whole aspect of, what you would call the Bible, but it has become reality, even with the coming in of what took place in 1936 on the 30th of June. You understand? So that's just real time now before you. So I'm trying to show you not just the diplomacy now, the realistic aspect of war and the funding of war and the behind the scenes of war. Is very, very important that we can cover it and understand it even on this level here. So what I want us to do now, we're going to check out this one here with an understanding as we continue to, bask and celebrate in this moment here as we are observing, as I said, the 5th of May, from the 5th of May, 1936 to the 5th of May, 1941. Now, let us listen to this now, family.
A wild and almost unknown land in East Africa, bordered by the Sudan, Kenya, British Somaliland, Eritrea, and what used to be Italian Somaliland. The first victim in the Axis avalanche of aggression and slaughter. Justly, the first country to be restored to its own people. And a tonic for Britain in the days of reverses, for the restoration was accomplished by the army of the British Empire. Armored units
Okay, hold on. I want us to hear. Okay, tell you what. Let's listen to it all first. And then we go back. You see, the reason why sometimes we take it piece, you know, because so many things have been said. And we have to make sure we get back to all of these points. Because remember the first clip that we ran it, the man clearly said that Haile Selassie was placed back by Britain, was placed back to be the head of Ethiopia. Some kind of funny way of talking like that. You know. He don't know what he's saying. He don't know what he's saying. Some of us talk that same foolishness. He don't know what he's saying. And we're going to prove all of that. We already began the discussion showing you, the man, how war is really fought behind the scenes, how it's funded. You don't remember the economic hitman, John Perkins? Remember the story we did on him, the episode we did, and we highlighted how he clearly showed you all the different leaders that they tried to buy, not tried, that they bought out, and who they didn't buy out. They kill out. John Perkins show you that. Confession of an economic hitman. Remember, it was the Shah of Iran that they made. And when I say they, you know who I talking about, man. The oligarchies, the international people. They made the Shah the king of kings. As I tell my brethren, Ras Mike, I don't know, Ras Mike have this idea that I don't know. Sometimes I don't even like to repeat it. Some weird idea of Haile Selassie. The same thing you'd hear a regular person that's not Rastafari say. You know, that Haile Selassie is like got crowned by England and some kind of way talk. But that's what Ras Mike would say. So then if Haile Selassie was wearing their titles as such, why would they have to create a next king of kings? If they don't have a king of kings that they can use, why have to make a next king of kings in the form of the Shah of Iran? Shah and Shah, that's what you go, right? Yeah. The Shah and Shah. Yeah, why they need a next king of kings and they already have one, according to what you're saying. And that is to show, and John Perkins, the economic hitman, with his book, The Confessions of the Economic Hitman, clearly show you that the Shah was a super puppet for the international tycoons and bankers and the rest of them. That's it. Man, we have done so many different episodes where we show you clearly the stance that Haile Selassie took in the world by himself and the position that he demanded without any help from any of these big bankers and oligarchies. Any international dealings that the king fulfilled is just as a diplomat. So whether he got a loan, funding, assistance, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean that's how the world run. And he was very shrewd in making sure that he got these things. This is just reality, but he never had to bow for none of these things or had to do what they wanted him to do. It's obvious. And yet still, he lived them out. That's a very serious thing. Let's listen to this. We'll get back to all that.
wild and almost unknown land in East Africa, bordered by the Sudan, Kenya, British Somaliland, Eritrea, and what used to be Italian Somaliland. The first victim in the Axis avalanche of aggression and slaughter. Justly, the first country to be restored to its own people. And a tonic for Britain in the days of reverses, for the restoration was accomplished by the army of the British Empire. Armored units of the Empire's army led the way into a little village on the outskirts of the city, where the inhabitants were waiting with the royal sign of the Lion of Judah and with words of welcome. The local chieftains stood with the gold and crimson umbrellas of their high rank to welcome the King of Kings, to whom they had remained loyal through 5 years of bondage. Children whose early days knew only subservience to the Italian tyrant watched
At the
the
League of
return of the
Nations,
Emperor's
a
son,
grave
Crown Prince from the
disturbance.
Duke.
Today, Haile Selassie comes to plead for his lost empire. He wants them to make Mussolini give up Ethiopia. The Geneva crowds are for him, but the exiled emperor will need his imperturbable dignity before the day is over. British Foreign Minister Eden, Soviet Delegate Litvinov on the left, and French Premier Blum and all the statesmen, instead of helping Haile Selassie, have decided to lift the sanctions against Italy. The introduction of the emperor in English.
His Majesty Negus Haile Selassie. I call upon the first delegate of Ethiopia. The speech which you are about to hear will be given in the Amharic language.
In the shadows of the press gallery, Italian newspaper men are ready for an outbreak against the emperor whose country their country has taken, waiting for his first words.
From the platform.
Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le...
Trying to quell the disturbance, lights turned out. Again, lights out. The disturbers ejected, arrested, and he is able to make his appeal.
Now, before I go into that, I'm sure many of us never knew that part. Well, we've touched upon this already, but still. Yeah, many of us, we may hear about the speech and even see clips of it and get a bit of the excerpt, but we never really get the aspect that while they were heckling and going on mad, the lights came off twice.
Trying to quell the disturbance, lights turned out. Again, lights out. The disturbers ejected, arrested, and he is able to make his appeal.
No, that is mystic. Well, I don't know. I mean, turning off the lights to quell the disturbers.
የሚገባውን ትክክለኛ ፍርድ ለመጠየቅ ዛሬ በዚህ ቀርቤያለሁ። ምክንያቱም ወታደሮቹ ቦምቡ በወደቀ ጊዜ ጋዙን ነፋስ እስኪወስደው ድረስ መበታተኑን ስላወቁበት ነው።
An ovation, yes, but he gets no help. The League lifts the sanctions against Italy. Applause, and that's all.
But as the other fella says in the documentary, The Lion of Judah, the League was dead. The League was dead. That was it, The League was dead. I had a few more sessions after that, but the League was dead. You must understand it. The League of Nations coming to an end has everything to do with the situation between Italy and Ethiopia. Not China and Japan. Italy and Ethiopia. That's why, family, we got to study. We got to read. We have to know history well. So then you can rationalize it. And if you believe in prophecies and biblical expressions of the future to come, you need to understand history properly. So you could see when the revelation is revealed. I want my audience to comprehend the levels of this war here tonight. We speak of the mystics of it. We speak of the spirit. We even speak of the emperor's diplomacy. But we really want to understand how much the emperor crushed Freemasonry, even in this war here alone. This is Freemasonry, Rasta. Hey, what do you think taking place here? So I'm showing you again, as you just observed, the League of Nations turned their back on the king. All 52 nations of them. Keeping in mind, since 1923-24, Rastafari made sure that Ethiopia was a member of this body here. And what it did, it put Ethiopia in a diplomatic position wherein just to be a member of the League of Nations, you had all, rights to the collective security, meaning one country could not attack another country within the League of Nations. And if they attacked each other or one attacked another, the rest of the league would sever themselves from this country here. And this was supposed to be the case with Italy and Ethiopia. Now let's keep in mind, nobody funding Haile Selassie. Nobody funding the Ethiopian war for sure. The Ethiopian warriors just fighting with faith. Right. And the emperor himself go on the diplomatic front now. Come before the league to plead his cause. The Bible said that, it's plead, the Bible says, use the word plead. He shall plead to the nations. That's what it says. He didn't say beg, He didn't say beg and borrow and all of them squirm, no. But plead a righteous cause. It's justice I'm talking about. We made an agreement. I ain't begging you for nothing. We made an agreement over a decade ago or so. 13 years ago, I became a member of the League of Nations. The king didn't say it like that, but that's what it is. And we have been working with you from that time to this time. Paid our dues, followed the rules, and now you come and take us for food. And the king asked them about the assistance that was promised to them. So the league actually promised to assist Ethiopia on the battlefield. They promised to assist Ethiopia. Now, to be honest, they should not even have gone that far to promise. No, they're supposed to cut off Italy. Remember, they also voted on the annexing of Ethiopia, I think several times. Voting. Who are you voting for? One member, Article 14, of their protocol. One member of the League of Nations attacked another member of the League of Nations. What are we voting for? You lose me there. Because they're not supposed to vote about anything. They're supposed to sever or cut themselves off from Italy. But now they came and says, well, we're going to put sanctions on both countries and embargo. Wickedness. Now tell me, even in the same propaganda documentary, The Lion of Judah, that BBC did, the narrator said that the League of Nations did nothing but to proclaim an embargo on both countries. For Italy, it was a green light. For Ethiopia, it was a death sentence. Meaning that, the embargo and sanctions are. That means no trading, nothing coming your way. Embargo is usually on the high seas. No ships coming to give you no ammunition, no, what you call that stuff, food, none of these things. So they were denying Italy and Ethiopia of, any help, any weapons. But Italy no need no weapons. It's Ethiopia that need the weapons. Well, we're going to stand a neutral ground here. So you could see that it's a plot. You could see that it's a plan. You could see that it is wickedness. Hey, that is a serious kind of wall to have your back against. Eh? And yet again, nobody funding the emperor, but obviously not. All the funders in the League of Nations there. And this is a real war. No disrespect to none of them other wars, but this ain't no Arab Spring and none of them things. This is a real war taking place here. This is what kick off World War II. So yes, now with this whole thing about Britain, this is what I'm really getting to, man. Britain, with the help of Britain, Haile Selassie has been placed again at the helm of Ethiopia. Somebody out there playing something there, saying something there. Yeah, just that disturbing us in here, man. We can't play with them things. So yes, pardon me for that. Now, even on another level now, what we're going to do, that's how it is sometimes. You have to be straight, Yes, as we meditate here now. So just pardon me for that, as I said. Let me just get back on track here with what I'm doing. Give thanks for that. Yes, let me just get back on track with what I'm doing. All right, so let's follow up with this one here now as it relates to, let me make sure I have the right one, because we're covering this in depth, in detail, with good understanding, and exactly where we are going with this expression here today.
A wild and almost unknown land in East Africa, bordered by the Sudan, Kenya, British Somaliland, Eritrea, and what used to be Italian Somaliland. The first victim in the Axis avalanche of aggression and slaughter. Justly, the first country to be restored to its own people.
Okay, let's get the language here good. The first
aggression and slaughter. Just Italian Somaliland. The first victim in the Axis avalanche of aggression.
The first victim, let me get these words right. The first victim in the axis, talking so fast, of avalanche.
And Eritrea and what used to be Italian Somaliland.
Listen.
The first victim in the Axis avalanche of aggression and slaughter.
The first victim in the Axis avalanche of destruction and terror. Wow.
And what used to be Italian Somaliland. The first victim in the Axis avalanche of aggression and slaughter.
Avalanche of aggression and slaughter. All right.
Justly, the first country to be restored to its own people.
Justly, the first country to be restored to its own people. All right, let us define or explain what he's saying here. Wow, how many of you would have got what he's saying there if we didn't stop that? And the first victim in the access of onslaught of avalanche and avalanche of murder, mayhem, and destruction. That's what he's saying here. What he's saying is that with the rise of fascism and Nazism, which are considered the demons, the two-headed demons of World War II. The first victim was Ethiopia. Remember again in the documentary, The Lion of Judah, can't forget this, how they highlight that Haile Selassie was the first victim, and he is the victor as well, the first to be sacrificed. These are the terms that they use in that documentary. the Lion of Judah, the first to be sacrificed in the cause of peace. Because differently, here they say, listen to me good, outside of this axis, which is supposed to be Mussolini and Hitler, of evil and that brought this avalanche of terror and destruction. Yes, I agree. That's one aspect of it. But what about the other European countries? Remember the documentary say he was the first sacrifice. Who sacrificed him? It's not Mussolini and Hitler sacrificed him. They attack him. He was sacrificed by the other members of the League of Nations, those who were supposed to sever themselves from Mussolini and come to the aid and assistance. That was their job. They were supposed to actually come to the aid and assistance of Haile Selassie. Wow, this is so real. So what this fella here is saying now in this newsreel, he's saying, and it is real, he's showing you that, okay, well, yeah, this is the first to have gone down by the axis of evil. Right. And justly so, the first to have resurrected. I don't think resurrected was the term he used.
Avalanche of aggression and slaughter. Justly, the first country to be restored to its own people.
Yes, the first country to be restored to its own people. Remember when Ethiopia regained its independence, if you use that term, they brought out a pamphlet that was entitled "The First to be Free." And therein now you can see the reality of the concept of the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ. The first to have taste the terror of the access of evil and to taste the onslaught and avalanche of destruction and terror and mayhem. And they're the first to be restored unto their own people. He's the only victim and victor in Africa. This is what the documentary says. He's the only victim and victor. The only one to die and have resurrected. In symbolic terms, obviously. Obviously, but the story that speaks of that is in symbolic literature as well. Yeah. The first sacrifice in the age of appeasement was Haile Selassie. Wow. So you see all these things coming to life. As you see the crucifixion, the resurrection, the sacrifice of the Lamb. Yeah. But then now, again, looking at it from the military perspective and the geopolitical perspective, because this is where we are staying here. So when England now joined this war was when Mussolini, or when Hitler, pardon me, took parts of Europe that they did not expect him or didn't want him, I should say, to walk in on. Poland, Czechoslovakia, Austria, and the Rhineland, and I think one or two other places. But whatever the case is, according to history, it was at this point where Britain, and to some extension even America, it's not just Japan, Pearl Harbor alone move America. England definitely joined the battlefront here. I showed us already, 1936, England had 3 kings. In 1936, when Haile Selassie was in England, England had 3 kings. One after the other. Well, it was a real mystic thing when you understand it. When old boy George died and his son became king and then decided, well, he's not holding on to that no longer because he have a woman he want to marry and they don't want him to marry her, and he run go with her. Then the next king came, his brother came, George VI. So that was 3 kings. All of this is symbolic. That was 3 kings that England had in 1 year during the time when the King of Kings, the Triple Crown monarchy, was there in exile. Yeah, man, them is the spirits. That's how we unravel the mysteries in the same way as we show you that Victor Emmanuel III, Emperor Emmanuel they call him, was the head of Ethiopia and their records in the absence of Haile Selassie I. But we don't know, mean that, as I said, that's their records. That's their records. The emperor was never no ex-emperor, so nobody else could be ruling Ethiopia. But I'm just showing you in the mystics of it. The ruler of Ethiopia was not Mussolini. It was Emperor Emmanuel. You know, anybody that upset with them kind of reasoning there is because you do not understand the esoterics. Nothing wrong, just stick with us and you will learn it straight up. So what I'm saying, outside of the esoterics now, when Italy was crushed in Ethiopia, it was a collaborative effort. We just have to agree on that. This is not no religion we're talking about here. Like, oh, well, why you need help at all? This is not no help thing. You don't understand all of what I said so far. You missing the picture here? This is not about no help, Rasta. This is war. Just the fact that the emperor stood out for so long is supernatural, magnificent. Man, nobody else would have stood the test of time like the emperor during that specific situation. You have to keep in mind, even prior to the war, prior to him becoming emperor, he already started to make the steps. He already started to make the moves. He already placed Ethiopia in the right position. So he had a reason to go to the League of Nations and speak to the world. From since 1923-24, he secured that. When the attack happened, even before then, he already trying his best to strengthen the army because he know what's going on. Then he find himself on the battlefield for months on the battlefield. I know one day come and fire 2 shots for the camera, man. The king on the battlefield, you know what I mean? As majestic as he always is, well dressed on the battlefield, man, with sunshades and everything looking so cool. Yeah, on the battlefield. Foot and bomb and thing and licking plane out the sky on the battlefield. Then when it was obvious to anyone that have sense, it was time for him to take another strategy. Yeah, the diplomatic move. The king didn't go to England, you know. The king went to Geneva. It's Switzerland the king went to. It's just like when you have a court case. Something happened and say, well, he's going to court. And when you go to court, what they say? Well, the matter is adjourned until next 5 years. Well, I can't exaggerate it. But it's adjourned until September this and December this and whatever. And when you go back, it's adjourned again. Some of these cases never come to any sort of decision for 3 years, 2 years. So it was a case like that. The League of Nations was dragging their feet on the reality of what was taking place in Ethiopia. And then at the same time, to be holding out and making sure that your soldiers in Ethiopia are taken care of. And then history now shows us again that because of certain moves that was made by the Nazis and the fascists, Britain entered the war. Now, Britain, number one, Britain was protecting herself. They say no League of Nations, nothing, you know. The League of Nations done mashing up. Britain was protecting herself. Britain had to save herself. Yo, Britain could not save herself without the help of Emperor Haile Selassie I. What you think about that one then? What you think about that? Now that is reality. Because mystically, as I said previous night, let's just say Ethiopia had nothing to do with this war. Well, that wouldn't be the prophecy in the history. But I'm just saying, let's assume Mussolini and Hitler still teamed up. They never troubled Ethiopia. And they did exactly all the other things that they did. Britain would have been roasted. Britain would have been roasted. Britain would have been done. But Britain had to crumple Mussolini. And there's no way that they could have done that on their own. You think they could have flown to Ethiopia and leave the King of Kings in England as if they're going to do it on their own? And I'm just using that figuratively, because they didn't fly the king out of England either, man. The king never tell nobody he leaving. The king just moved mystically, if you know the story well. But of course, communications were kept, especially when the king reached a distance. Negus and Nagas we're talking about, and of course the diplomatic link was made because it's the allies now, of which Ethiopia became a part of, the allies that were working here to get rid of the fascists. Remember, after Mussolini's defeat in Ethiopia, the vast majority of his army was crumbled because he was concentrating a lot in Ethiopia. He had his army assisting Hitler. Remember, he was tagging up with Hitler. So all of his power was not in Ethiopia, but the vast majority of his power was. So when he was crushed in Ethiopia, basically he was crushed. It was just downhill from there on for Mussolini in Italy. Remember, they hung him upside down. His own people kill him in Italy and hang him upside down. Him and his wife and some other people close to him next to a gas station in Milan Square. Reality we're talking about here. Wow. So Britain needed Haile Selassie I. And this is what I'm trying to show you. So Britain didn't place Haile Selassie the first back on no throne like how they try to make it sound. Why not say Haile Selassie secured the throne of Britain? Or else, without him, there would have been no throne for Britain. Man, England should be happy Mussolini attacked Haile Selassie. Because if they had to challenge them two killers by themselves, there would be no Britain. Straight up. But remember, half of Mussolini's body was in Ethiopia as such. So if you could break that down, it will be easy pickings from here on. And that's exactly what it was. But they couldn't do it without the Ethiopians. You think they could just fly in and say, hey, we taking this on by ourselves. The Ethiopians would fight them too. They wouldn't make it. They would never make it. So all you slave-minded Negroes, I mean what I'm saying, eh? It takes a slave mentality to keep up them foolish talk about Britain coming and help Haile Selassie. Some of you had the nerve to say the Queen had to help him. Which Queen? With them dumb, illiterate, unscholarly talking there. Pardon me to the people that I love who respect the word, but some of these people, you have to put them in their place early. I know you shocked them. They didn't even expect you to say it like that, but they need it with them dumb talk. Why you don't say that Haile Selassie assisted King George VI to keep his crown? Or as Mussolini and Hitler would have just walk over them because you do not study history. You don't understand what was going on at the time. You're just running off of the words that your grandmommy and grandpappy tell you. Don't worry, mine tell me the same thing too. Well, not necessarily the grands, because I never met them, but you get the point I'm making. What old people used to say. Oh, Selassie, feed the lions and people them starving. So how you break that down, you know, in a scholarly fashion so I can clearly understand what you're trying to say. There's no scholarship behind that. It's just dumb talk. Before we be praising the King of Kings, Negusa Nagat, for his glorious work for us. Because if he didn't stand up to this beast here, where would Africa be today? From the 5th of May, 1936 to the 5th of May, 1941. Exactly 5 years. 5 bleeding wounds that Christ bore for the sins of his people. Carrying the world on his shoulder, the universe really, like the Atlas. We're speaking of Emperor Haile Selassie I. So there was no funding here. The allies now, telling you, as Brother Vaughn says, allies and friends, all allies and friends, found it necessary to, quote unquote, come to the aid of Emperor Haile Selassie I. That's how they want to make it look, especially in their watered down sugar and cream history. But I'm showing to the world tonight that Britain would not be no Britain without Haile Selassie I. They would have been crushed by Mussolini and Hitler. That's what it is. And to prove this, if they knew they could have done it without the king, they would have gone without the king. They wouldn't even bother with him. They would be happy to take Ethiopia for themselves. But it's not something that they could have done. So this is why, you know, you see us make that direct link, the Maui Haile Selassie I and Asar, the Osiris mystery, you know, because it is the one fulfillment even in this time. This is why we show you the same 72 that came and to his banquet represent the same 72 colonial nations specifically that came, and the representative thereof that came to his coronation, you know. And amongst them were the same people that betrayed him at the same League of Nations. Everything is the same, because it was the same people that came to the coronation of Osiris, that put him in the coffin and chop him up into 14 pieces or 16 pieces. And the 16 pieces is symbolic of what? Article 16. Article 16, that they chop him up into 16 pieces, the League of Nations chop him up. The same people that was at the coronation chop him up into 16 pieces. Article 16, that is the article that says that if one member of the League attack the other member of the League, the rest of the League is supposed to sever themselves from the miscreant or the villain, the person that is doing the attacking. 16. Chop him up into 16 pieces. Yes, family, give thanks all as well. We are right here. That was just an excerpt from the program previous night on the Tiger's Nest. I said I would have shared some of it with you. We went on and on. It was a very extensive program. That was on the Tiger's Nest previous night. That was really in the celebration of the 5th of May, African Liberation Day. So I decided to share a bit of it with you this day. And I really pray and hope that it was definitely for the fullness of joy. But anyway, we still will be checking in with you for the Chalice Talk. So make sure you prepare yourself for that, of course, and the preparation of the Sabbath in the Sabbath order. And let me just remind you, of course, to keep in mind that the space is now extremely limited. A few spaces, yeah, well, still available. And you could definitely link us and make sure you have your spot for this Monday's natural childbirthing educational workshop. That's the 9th of May. And that will be at 8 p.m. And of course, remember, everything in order, 2-hour training, question and answer. And remember, certificate will be given on completion as well. Of course, I'm definitely giving thanks for your presence with us. And of course, yeah, let me remind you for sure that we're talking about the summer solstice retreat, the summer solstice experience here in Antigua. Remember, you can contact us early. Don't wait until June now. I mean, this is a big event. This is not no last minute thing, so you should definitely try to arrange your flights, at least try to arrange your flights by now, look into, what aircraft will be coming here. But you can contact us too for assistance as it relates to that, wherein we could assist you through the travel agencies that we are now partnering with in this project here, so you could get the best fares in your traveling coming to us. Remember, it's going to be 7 days of joy from the 17th to the 24th of June. It's going to be a wonderful session. The main attraction really is Green Castle Hill, the double hike to the megaliths on the stone mountain itself, the Stonehenge of the Caribbean. They refer to it as, but definitely it is way beyond that for sure. So remember the double hike to the mighty mountain, morning hike, sunrise hike on the day of summer solstice, when the longest day of the year, and also an evening hike. I think it's 2 days prior to that one. And that's the same night of the Star Watch, when we will see the stars come out and show certain alignments. Listen, this is going to be so marvelous and magnificent. You definitely would not want to miss it. So looking forward, remember the cannabis tour, the island tour, the historical tour, the historical lectures, the yoga retreat, and all good things, accommodations, everything well set. And of course, your meals, your feasts, as we would prefer to say, all vegan and ITIL. So everything is all in order, well set, looking forward. As I say, contact us early, so at least we can make the link and know that you at least have it in your thought, so we can, start your preparation early, so everything will go smooth. You don't know what to do, you contact us specifically, preciserinstitute@gmail.com. Of course, for swift attention, you can call or even WhatsApp Rastafari Experience Antigua, as it's a Rastafari Experience Antigua project. And that is area code 1268. That's the area code 1268, 714-1227. That's 714-1227. That specifically gets you straight to Rastafari Experience Antigua and this project here. Or again, email us, and everything will be wonderful and blessed. So definitely give thanks for that bit of the Tiger's Nest. It was a wonderful sit down. There is much more, every evening the Tiger's Nest is there. All you got to do is tune into Radio Anu. Remember, all the links are in the description below. Give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, King Selassie. Jah Rastafari. Blessed love.